Hello, everyone. I'm Deidre K. Gray, and this is Cosmo Convo with Glam by DK. Episode 3, The Proper and Professional Way of Coloring Natural and Relaxed Hair. In this episode, we'll be discussing the proper and professional way of coloring natural and relaxed hair and the issues it could cause if done improperly. We'll also be discussing the products we should use during and after service. I'll also be inserting videos and pictures of my work. I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, guys, let's get into it. We're going to be discussing some of the coloring services that you can receive, and we're also going to be discussing the pros and cons of these services. I'll also add in what conditioning treatments that you should do before, after, and during the service. The first service that we're going to discuss would be bleaching or lightening service. This service is done with two components. You have your bleach, which is the powdery substance, and you have your developer, which is a liquidy substance. You mix these two together, and that creates your lightening agent to lighten your hair. Developer comes in a range of volumes. The volume is how high or how many levels it will lift your hair. So say if you have a 10 volume developer, it'll lift your hair 1 level. Say if you have a 20 volume, it will lift your hair 2 levels. The most that I'll ever go as a professional with a developer would be a 30 volume. Anything higher than that could blow your cuticle of your hair and cause damage and breakage. This service is not done on relaxed hair. If you do a service like this on relaxed hair, it could cause major damage to your hair. Mixing lightener and a relaxer is a double chemical service, and that could cause major problems. This service normally doesn't need a touch-up for about 8 weeks. You'll start to see the natural hair color grow back in at the root. Once you have at least 1.5 inches of new growth, then I would suggest that you can do a touch-up. Do your very best to try not to overlap the lighteners because that causes damage as well. Some of the pros in lightening hair is it'll give you a new look. It can also be a canvas to other colors that you want to add in your hair, and it will give dimension to your color. This service I suggest should be done by a professional licensed cosmetologist. Some of the cons of this lightening service is if it's not properly taken care of, it could cause major damage that's irreversible to not only your hair but your scalp as well. Please be very careful and mindful in doing these services. With every coloring service, you want to use a protein conditioner and a moisturizing conditioner. In your bleach and lightening services, you want to use a moisturizing conditioner and a protein conditioner. What bleach does is it takes out the melanated pigment that is in the hair, which leaves kind of like holes in the hair shaft. So what the protein does is it comes in and bonds to the holes in the hair, which strengthens the hair. You want to do a protein treatment on lightened hair at least every 2 to 3 weeks. With this protein treatment, you have to follow it up by a moisturizing treatment. The moisturizing treatment is going to lock in the protein treatment by shutting down the cuticle of the hair and locking in everything that is good in the hair. So every time you use a protein treatment, make sure you're using a moisturizing treatment as well. You're going to want to do the same thing when you're doing a permanent color, especially a high lift. Now, when you're doing a rinse, you don't have to use a protein treatment unless your client needs one. But I would suggest that you use a color sealant at the bowl, and I would suggest you use a moisturizing conditioner at the bowl, because sometimes semis can tend to make the hair a little rough. Now, here's a list of protein treatments that I suggest you can use on your client or your hair if it is lightened or if it has permanent color on it. And here is a list of moisturizing conditioners if your client or you has lightened, permanent color on their hair. This is a list of moisturizing conditioners that I like to use on semis, and a list of sealants that I like to use on semis. As your client leaves, there are also different conditioners and leave-ins that you can tell them to get at home. Here's a list of a couple of them. The next color service that we're going to discuss will be permanent color. Permanent color is used for coverage. In using permanent color, I will only suggest you use a 10 volume or a 20 volume developer. Permanent color uses developer because permanent color gets into the cuticle of your hair. The developer helps it open up your cuticle and get into the cuticle of your hair, which in turn means it lasts longer and you don't have to worry about it rubbing off or rubbing out. I suggest a touch-up on your permanent color about every 4 to 6 weeks. Permanent color is great for gray coverage, but I would only use a 20 developer for gray coverage. I wouldn't go higher than that. If you go higher than that in developer, you will be getting into a high lift color. What a high lift color does is it lightens the hair as a bleach would, but it's not as harsh on the hair. So if you have a client that wants lighter hair, and their hair isn't strong enough for bleach, a good option for them may be a high lift color. But once again, I can't stress enough, always do a strand test on all your clients to make sure that their hair is healthy enough to have the color. And I wouldn't suggest you do any coloring services on a first visit because you have to get to know the client's hair. Some of the pros of permanent color would be it'll help cover gray hair if using a 20 volume. It can add dimension to your hair. It can help add low lights to any color that you have, or highlights just depending on what your base color is. And it can also work as a filler. Permanent color can be done on relaxed hair, but I wouldn't use anything but a 10 volume, as though you don't want to compromise the integrity of the hair. Now I will be inserting a video of me doing a double process color on my client. I had already pre-lightened her. What you'll see in the video is me going in and spot checking my lightening job. I'll also be applying the semi of her choice, and you'll see the finished results. I'll also post pictures of my work. I'll have my clients that have permanent color, semis, and lightning jobs. I hope you guys enjoyed this Cosmo Convo. I'll check you next week. And don't forget to follow me on all my social media accounts. Facebook is Glam by DK, Instagram is DK Glammed It, and YouTube is DK Glammed It 14. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Cosmo Convo with Glam by DK. Next week will be episode 4. The topic will be Lock Maintenance 101. We'll be discussing how to prevent damage in locks, home care of locks, and how to repair broken or damaged locks. It'll also be an interactive Q&A, so make sure you ask me any questions that you may have on this topic, and I'll answer them on my next video. Thank you guys.